Don't touch that button. Do not click on that button. Have you ever clicked one button and instantly regret it? Maybe you bought something online. Maybe you opened an email. Maybe you trusted. Yes, you trusted someone for just a few seconds. Now let me ask you something. Who do you think is most likely to become the victim of an online scam? Someone who doesn't understand technology? Perhaps somebody elderly? Someone who isn't educated? If that is your answer, you are wrong. Because the people criminals love targeting the most are often intelligent. They are successful. They are professional. Of course, business owners. People who believe that would never happen to me. I spent years studying criminals during the war, during investigations, interrogations, and now helping businesses understand how deception really works. And one lesson has followed me everywhere. Criminals rarely defeat technology. They defeat people because they understand something many of us forget: human behavior. A few days ago, a friend of mine, she bought a dress. Yeah, that sounds like an ordinary story, but it isn't, because that dress became one of the greatest lessons about human psychology I've seen in years. Stay with me. Perhaps this episode is going to be a little bit longer, but this episode can be your life-altering educational podcast time, because you're going to learn today how to prevent somebody scam you and take it what you earn hard, your money. So stay with me till the end, because before this episode finishes, I promise you, you'll think differently every time you reach for your phone. Hello, all of you risk takers and truth seekers, and welcome back to Live the Battlefield podcast. My name is Bekes, and if this is your first time here, welcome. This channel isn't about creating the fear. It's about creating awareness. For those who don't know, I lived through war, I work in intelligence, conducted investigations, built businesses. And one thing I learned is that every battlefield looks different. Sometimes it's a battlefield of conflict. Sometimes it's business. Sometimes it's inside your own mind. And today, battlefield fits inside your pocket. It's your mobile phone. Because every single day, someone, somewhere is trying to influence decisions you make. Not by force, not by violence, but by understanding how your brain works. And that's what today's episode is really about. Coffee. And one honest conversation. A few days ago, I caught up with a friend of mine for coffee. Yeah, she's a highly educated, she's a very successful, she's well-traveled, and above all, very, very intelligent. The type of person who understands online scams. If I asked her to explain phishing, identity theft, or fake online stores, she could probably teach a class on this. Then she looked at me and smiled. Not because something funny happened, because she was embarrassed. She said, "Mario, I did something stupid." So, of course, I smiled back. I didn't know what story it is about. Maybe it's a love story. Maybe she met somebody. Who knows? So, I smiled back. Because I heard those words many times during investigations. But she's my friend. People usually say them just before they tell you something very, very important. She told me she was attending a wedding, like many of us. She started searching online for a dress. We all know that now online buying, online working, it's a part of our daily routine. People forgot to go in the stores. People forgot what the customer service it is. We don't touch things, we just see things online and we buy. Nothing unusual. She just go on a website and she saw a few advertisements. Yeah, scrolling, comparing. looking for ideas. I know that women do differently than men. And then she says, I found it. The perfect dress for the wedding. Perfect color. Perfect size. Perfect price. Everything looked professional. Amazing, beautiful photography, customer reviews, a secure payment page. Without stopping, she clicked it, added to the cart, enter her details, and pressed pay. Then the screen froze. So did she. She looked at me and said, Mario, I'm loving, but somebody says to me, Mario. I didn't even think. Those 5 words stayed with me. Not because of the dress, because I heard almost the same sentence from fraud victims, business owners, academics, executives, and everyday people. Difference came, same sentence. I didn't think. Look, it was never about dress, fortunately. The dress eventually arrived. Everything worked out. But that's not the point. The point is what happened. During those 10 seconds between seeing the advertising and clicking pay, those 10 seconds fascinates me. Because during those 10 seconds, nothing changed about her intelligence. Nothing changed about her education or her experience. The only thing that changed was her emotional state. She wasn't thinking about cybersecurity or scams or about attending wedding. She was thinking how to look nice, finding something she loved. And that's what exactly criminals live. Take the note. Criminals don't live inside computers, our devices, on our screens. They live inside our emotions. That's when I realized this wasn't really a story about online shopping experience. It was a story being a human. Can I ask you something? Have you ever watched the news and heard about someone losing thousands of dollars to scam? You know, every day I'm seeing here in Australia on a TV, particularly those shows about 6:30 p.m. when they start that show with somebody has been scammed online, somebody was being defrauded. You must saw those shows on TV or maybe heard on the radio. You know, somebody losing thousands, if not millions of dollars to scam. Maybe investment scam, maybe fake phone call, fake website, and quietly without saying it loud, you thought, I will never fall for that. Be honest. I was thinking that way. Most people have. And that's exactly where the danger begins. Because criminals don't need you to be foolish. No, they simply need you to believe. You are immune. During my years conducting investigations and interrogations, I met doctors, I met lawyers, accountants, judges, police officers, CEOs, just to name a few. People responsible for making million-dollar decisions. Some of them become victims. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because they trusted their own judgment. Just a little too much. Psychologists call it the illusion of invulnerability. I call this one of the most expensive beliefs a person can have. The moment you believe it can't happen to me, you already taken the first step towards making it possible. Yes, that's correct. Have a sip of coffee. Every time when you say to yourself, never gonna happen to me, it already happened. First step has been taken. Let me share something with you. After years in human intelligence and years conducting investigations, I came to one simple conclusion. Most criminals don't wake up thinking, how do I steal someone's money today? They ask a different question. How do I get someone to trust me? That's correct. Because once they have your trust, everything else becomes easier. Think about nobody wakes up wanting to be scammed. Nobody says, today I'd like to lose all my savings. It doesn't happen that way. It starts with trust, a professional-looking website, friendly email, a convincing phone call, social media advertising, a message that seems to arrive at exactly the right time. And that, my friend, is no accident. Criminals don't study computers. Do you think that criminals in a prison, they have the access to computers so they study, how to hack you? No, they're talking amongst each other. Criminals talk to each other. They're exchanging ideas, modus operandi, how imagination works, how to gain the trust. They study people, but not the people alone. They study habits. They study patterns. They study emotions. And they know something most of us forget. Human beings are wonderfully predictable. We are. We are predictable when we are afraid. We are predictable when we are excited. We are predictable where we are under pressure. And we are especially predictable when we believe something good is about to happen. No. I'm not talking now about your law of attraction, close your eyes and just imagine things. No. But, could be that way. But when you think something nice is going to happen to me, that's exactly what happened to my friend. She wasn't buying a dress. She was buying the feeling, finding the perfect one. I remember when I was in academy, intelligence academy, and there was a lady, one of the lecturers, she comes and I forgot the name of the subject, but we talk about predictability. And she says that our life is like binary numbers, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. And I was very young and naive and believing I know everything. She explained to me very quickly that I was very wrong. But we are predictable. We are humans predictable. We have the patterns. That's what the criminals and scammers aiming for. It's always sense of urgency. It's now. It's no risk. They know your name. Your brain is faster than your wisdom. Your brain makes thousands of decisions every single day, and most of them without even you noticing. Imagine if you had to stop and analyze every step you took, every road you drove, every email you open. You never get through the day. So your brain creates shortcuts. Psychologists call them mental shortcuts. I call them survival tools. Most of the time, they are brilliant, but they help us to function. They also have a weakness. And one of the world's greatest psychologists, Daniel Kahneman, explained that we think in two ways: fast and slow. The fast brain reacts. The slow brain investigates. Now, ask yourself, which one do criminals want you to use? You're correct, the fast one. That's why every scam sounds urgent. Only one left. Your account has been locked. Act now. Limited offer. Payment required immediately. Notice something? Every message says the same thing. Don't think, react. Because if you stop, even for 30 seconds, the scam becomes to fall apart. I hate those phone calls at night. I hate them when they call me during the dinner and they try to explain to me how my account is being hacked. I just need to press that link they sent me. Something's happened. Always some type of urgency. They know when to call. They know that you're gonna be afraid to lose even more. So guys, don't rush. Question everything. Slow down. That's the number one thing you can do before you commit yourself to any decision. Investigate. 30 seconds. Technology changed. People didn't. AI is everywhere now. You agree with me? It can write emails, clone your voice, create the videos, even imitate people you know. And that's a scary thing. But do you know what hasn't changed? us. Fear is still fear. Trust is still trust. Hope is still hope. And criminals know exactly how to exploit all three. During investigations, I rarely saw criminals relying only on technology. The successful ones understood psychology. Don't take me wrong, they don't go in university to study psychology, but because they spend enough time and come back to that point, I always explain this in my books and in my podcasts. Imagination can create good things, but can create bad things. Criminals, they have imagination. They are 2 steps ahead of all of us because they're using imagination as a tool of their psychological advanced scam methods. So they imagine in their head, how I gonna do this in future? Not now. They don't wake up in the morning as I say like, I'm gonna scam somebody. But how I can gain the trust? So they think about one thing, but somehow they get modus operandi for the scams because they know psychology of us. Doesn't matter how much technologies change, doesn't matter how much everything changes around us. We people don't change. But criminals become more advanced because they have now more tools on their disposal. Something what was a pure imagination. Imagine they have access to AI. They can create your voice, the videos, everything look legit. They know how to create the urgency. They know how to create authority, scarcity, curiosity. Because once emotion take over, logic quietly walks out of the room. That's why successful people become victims. Not because they are less intelligent, sometimes because they are moving too fast. Now, the one thing criminals hope you never do is this. Do you know what hurts victim the most? It's not always the money. It's the silence afterwards. I spoke with people who lost thousands of dollars. Some lost businesses, confidence. Nearly every one of them asked me the same thing. Mario, please don't tell anyone. That sentence has stayed with me for years because shame is the criminal's greatest ally. Take the pause here. Sit if you need it. Do you like to share how you've been scammed? Do you like to know how somebody took money away from you? Have you clicked that button on a website which is a fake? Because shame is the criminal's greatest ally. If the victim stays silent, well, who stays in business? Criminals. You heard me. That's why I admire my friend. She didn't have to tell me that story about her wedding dress. No. She could go on a wedding and, she had that dress and she could enjoy. But no, she didn't have to tell me that story. She could have hide from me, never tell me nothing. Instead, she said, if my mistake helps someone else, Mario, share that mistake. That, my friend, is courage. Real courage. Not pretending we're perfect, but being honest enough is to protect someone else. That's what it is. There's 3 things I want you to remember before we finish. First, I'd like to leave you with 3 simple habits. 3 simple habits. Not theories, habits. So you can practice this one. Number 1, never make important decisions while you are emotional. If someone says, right now, you do the opposite. Pause. Walk away. Make a coffee. Come back in 5 minutes later. You'll be amazed what's going to happen. How different the situation looks. I heard as well when I was younger, don't make a promises, while you are emotionally high. Talking relationship, I love you. I want to spend my life with you and all these things. Women knows those things. They bring you high and then you say things you really want to do it. But because you're emotionally high, you're promising things you can't deliver. So when you're emotionally high, stop. Come back in 5 minutes. and you'll be amazed how situation looks differently. Number 2, always verify independently. Always. Never trust the message or messenger. You need to call the bank yourself, call your accountant, call your colleague. One phone call can save months of regret. And finally, never be embarrassed to ask for help. Being fooled doesn't mean you're foolish. It means someone invested time understanding human behavior. And today, you understand that too. Now, before we go, I want you to know that people often ask me, particularly after the war, after investigations, what's the greatest lesson life has taught me? Today, my answer for all of you is simple. Protect your judgment, because every battlefield I experienced started with the one simple decision. Sometimes that decision saved lives. Sometimes it changed lives. And sometimes it was nothing more than one careless click. The dress arrived. My friend, she's happy. Everything turned well, but the lesson was priceless. Because next time, it may not be dress. It might be your business, your identity, your saving, your family, maybe someone you love. So next time when the phone tells you, act now, don't. Take the step back and come back in 5 minutes. Thank you for watching Live the Battlefield. Feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment. And if this episode helped you, please share with your friends, your family members, and let this episode help them as well. If you like it, share your experiences down in the comment section below with all of us. How did you prevent, or maybe you become the victim of online scam, on all type of scams? Thank you for watching.